Alright, so I'm on my way to the South Dakota Badlands area, and Wall is the entrance town to that place. And for like 40 miles there's billboards talking about the Wall drugstore and all the great things there and how big it is and how fabulous it is, and it was featured in People magazine. So it's probably just a big tourist scam, but I was coming to Wall anyway, and right over here is the Wall drugstore. And there's lots of parking, and I guess this is what you do when you go to Wall. So let's check it out. So it's winter of 1931. You've just bought a drugstore in Wall, and you realize it's a small town and you're not going to make much money. Well, what do? Well, if you're Ted Hoosted, he put up a ton of signs with catchy jingles, and he ended up getting, over today, 2 million people a year coming to this place. So, man of genius. Sorry about the quality of the video here on the inside. It is what it is, but it's quite an interesting place, as you can see. So the clever thing about Wall Drugstore is it's really a mall. So it's just set up as one big looking building, and you go from store to store, and there's signs saying, play for merchandise before you leave the store. So it's independent stores. It's really a mall, but it's just set up really nicely that it feels like something different. And so they've got a good thing going here. For such a small town, Wall has an amazing amount of merchandise. Not a surprise, really. The other claim to Wall is it's the entranceway to the South Dakota Badlands. So from I-90, you turn at Wall and go directly south. Right away, just outside the park, we encountered these bison. Yeah, the park entranceway is just ahead. Those are pretty small dots, I'm sure, but those are bison grazing out there in the field. And we'll get one more close-up here on the left. And just like that, the Badlands sneak up on you. There it is. It's kind of like a canyon. Everything's flat, and it looks like you can see, way off in the distance. And then suddenly you come up to the edge, and you look down, and you see all this majestic features, and, it just kind of captures you off guard. I think this is a little bit like the Grand Canyon, if I remember it, how that happens. You're just coming along, and then there it is. It's not like a mountain range where you can see it for miles. Almost hard to fathom. Volcanic activity created this landscape. It's not completely barren. You can see the vegetation down there. Life finds a way. But yeah, imagine, even on horse, trying to make your way through this territory. But of course, I'm not on a horse. I'm on a motorcycle. And that is a great way to explore the Badlands. It's an impressively big area, and the whole area at one time was under a sea. And so this land, because of its the nature of it, with its exposing so much sedimentary rock, it has a lot of fossils in it, and so there's a lot of historical records of early dinosaurs and mammals. Apparently, at one point, rhinoceroses roamed this land. Go figure. So yeah, the whole park is about 250,000 acres, and the scenery here is just majestic. Needless to say, I found the scenery here spectacular and majestic. But another thing that you may have noticed in some of the recordings here is the wind. It was so windy here. I'd hoped at one point to fly my drone, but I don't think you can fly a drone in a national park anyway. But it was so windy, my drone would have been sent off in the distance to never return. The other thing, of course, is the different colors you get. Sometimes you get these orange and pink hues. It's really quite spectacular. From a distance, you don't notice all the grasses as well, but there is a fair bit of life actually here. It was at this pullout, as I was looking out over the seemingly endless scenery, that I find myself in a different kind of situation. For when I left, I ended up finding myself joining a motorcycle gang. Yeah, I just kind of inserted myself accidentally in the middle of this group of motorcycle friends out for a good time. I actually pulled over and let all the motorcyclists ride together, since that's what they're out here to do. Also, it's interesting, but riding in a group of motorcycles, there's a certain way you handle the formation. And although I am familiar with it, I'm mostly a solo rider, so it's a little bit more of a cognitive load. So easier just to let them ride together. Well, as I pull over here to look at the view, I say goodbye to my motorcycle buddies. Let's pull up the map and see what I've been up to. So we started in the Black Hills, and we went to Rapid City, and then we saw all the signs leading us to Wall. From there, we've been riding through the Badlands of South Dakota and having just a blast. From there, I will be heading along the I-90 until I get to the most expensive campsite of my trip in Presho. The early explorers must have had a heck of a time not getting lost out here. I mean, you do have the ability to see the sun, you know which way that's going, but it's so easy to be in these dips and not know which way to go. I'm actually always amazed by the early explorers and what they were able to do, traversing land that's so extreme and so difficult, and carrying along enough supplies to make it all happen. On the eastern side of the park, which is where I am now, there's a lot more hills, whereas on the west it seemed like everything was sunken down. On this side, I guess you're riding more in the lower part automatically, so a lot of the land is rising up above you. Some of these formations though, like this one on the right, it's just there, all by itself. It's, yeah, hard to explain. Almost feels like you're in a maze. Someone's mapped out the road to show you the right way through. Well, it's time to wrap up this episode. After visiting the Badlands, I headed east along I-90 until I got to Presho, where I spent the night at the New Frontier RV Park. And boy, being the only campsite around, it was quite expensive, $45 for a little tent spot. But when in Rome, as they say. Hey, I hope you liked the video. If you did, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next ride.